And hello, Hearts of Oak. Thanks so much for joining us once again for another news review. It's always fun to bring new guests, people I bump into. And I bumped into Sarah White at the Together Declaration event on Sunday. Of course, that was the high point, meeting Sarah for the first time. Sarah, thank you so much for giving us your time today.
No problem at all, Peter. How are you?
All good, all good, and that was a great event. Many Alan always brings good people together,
Mm.
so it was good to catch up and bump into many different people. Some people I had met before, some people I hadn't. But you're someone who's kind of been on my news feed a while, and it was, oh, there's Sarah Flag Lady White. I need to talk to her. But do you want to me introduce yourself? You'll be probably well known to certainly the Advance UK side, Tommy supporters certainly in the UK. You may, our US viewers may not know you as well. So just take a moment and introduce yourself before we jump into these stories.
Okay, so my name's Sarah White and I'm 40 years of age. As you just said, I'm part of Advance UK. I am also one of the Pink Ladies. So I kind of I got into politics about a year ago when I joined to begin with Reform, and then around about August, well, July time, we started protesting at the Bell Hotel in Epping because of the young girl getting sexually assaulted. I then got arrested because basically I held up the British flag. And from that moment, that kind of shot me into I wouldn't say stardom, but then obviously my platform grew quite rapidly and people started to recognize me. And I did spend 24 hours in police custody. I was charged. I had court set for the 15th of October, and days before they said that they wouldn't be bringing me to court. So the process, you know, the process of all of that is the punishment, as we now say in the UK. So, and then during that, from then, I then spoke at Tommy Robinson's rally on the 13th of September. And that gave me a great opportunity to speak to millions of people and just spread a little bit more information on what's going on. And I've continued to stay part of the Pink Lady movement. And I have also joined Advance UK, led by Ben Habib, and that was probably the best thing for me because I feel that they are, or they will be, the party that will actually put Britain first and put the people who deserve to be in this country as a priority. Because at the moment, we aren't a priority, and the priority is unfortunately undocumented illegal men who break into this country. So that's a little bit about me. I am a local business owner. I've got 3 children, 3 older children, and yeah, that's enough about me for the moment, I think.
Well, let's get into Advance UK. And we've had Ben Habib on numerous times, and huge respect for what Ben has done. He's been very successful in the business world and has been involved in politics with reform, gone your path, reform, realize you weren't necessarily wanted with your
Mm.
awful views, and
Yeah.
then made your way to Advance. But uh, here is Advance UK, just something they've been doing. You were involved in this X space every Tuesday, 6:30 to 8 p.m. UK time. Join us for weekly Advance space with college members and guests, a forum for open discussion, insight, and debate. And you were on the one most recently. May you tell us a little bit about that, Advance UK, making your voice heard, as Howard Cox been on many, many times. And of course, he was originally Reform candidate for the Mayor of London
Mhm.
back in the days when Reform accepted those who actually spoke up around Tommy. That's changed. Tell us a little bit about the Advance UK, your thoughts, where it's going.
Well, I think, same as myself and Howard and Ben and so many others, everybody who joined Reform to begin with joined because we were just ordinary people, never really spent our lives in politics, but we had a deep sense of passion for this country and could see that there was flaws. basically, and we know that the country is failing. And I love what this country was. I don't love what this country is becoming. And I think that's what we all shared, this same drive that we wanted to make the country better. We want to make it Great Britain once more. And so everyone kind of joined Reform because there was very grassroots. And then slowly but surely, we either got pushed out or they didn't like it that we might have supported Tommy Robinson. So when I was putting posts up about Tommy Robinson, I was told, take the post down or you'll be dropped from the party. So the moment I agreed to stand out on Tommy's stage, I knew I signed my death warrant. And lo and behold, I knew that they was going to get rid of me. And even though they didn't get rid of me, I jumped before I was pushed because I felt that was right for me. And I feel that Advance now is actually the party that will make a change for this country. Ben is incredibly, you've met him, he's incredibly patriotic. He cares immensely, and sometimes he cares too much, if that's possible. And I just really see Advance being the way forward. I love the fact that they've got the college where it is people that they are vetted incredibly, because each person in that college plays their role for every single part and every single policy and legislation that will be made. So they have to have a good understanding about the background in which they're making the decisions on. It can't just be somebody who has all of a sudden got a job in the corporate world because of a friend, and then it entitles them to make decisions. Because I believe that anyone making decisions for people like in the farming industry, that should be made by farmers. It shouldn't be that somebody sitting there in their ivory tower can all of a sudden go, well, we're going to do this, 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 and this, but they don't have any idea on how a farm actually works. And I know personally how difficult it is for the farming industry. So, and it's the same with families with disabled children. Families with disabled children shouldn't be having someone making laws and legislations and policies for them when they have no idea how that system works. So I think that's something that I really drew me to Advance. Um, and I just
And
hope.
and no, and one thing Advance, I think that when with Reform, it's about Nigel's, often the Nigel show,
Yes.
being the superstar. Ben seems to not have that
Mm.
attitude, and the amount of people he's brought on board wants others to take the lead, and even a simple thing like that, X Spaces. Ben wasn't on it. I can't imagine a Reform event where Nigel is not on it. I think it's a very different focus. It's not a focus on the person, it's a focus on what you can do for the country.
Definitely. And, Ben has been incredibly supportive of me. And I've met Ben and Nigel. And I just felt like when Nigel met me, it was a bit like, oh, who are you? Like, not really that interested. But then what Nigel does do is the moment Rupert Lowe got the standing ovation and got more notoriety than Nigel, it was like, right, we need to get rid of him. And it seems as if anyone who gets a bit of spotlight, it's you've got to go. He wants everyone to be beneath him. It is the Nigel show, where Ben is very much like, no, go on, you go, you can do it. He's not got an ego at all. And he is incredibly passionate and patriotic and sincere. And I've met Ben many times. I've messaged him every week. He messages me. He's wanting me to go to events with him. And he's like, come on, you can come and you can speak. And he wants that. And he doesn't see himself as someone who's superior to me. He sees himself as an equal. And that's what I really like. And I think that if you're trying to be the leader of a party, you've got to know that it's the whole party that is the one thing that everyone's buying into. It's not just the one man. So we all play our roles and we all play our parts well. So I'm really proud to be part of Advance, and it really is a lovely, welcoming family, which I never felt that with Reform. I
No,
felt like it was like,
I'd agree.
"Oh, single mum, 3 kids, what does she know that she's talking about? She hasn't got a clue. Her kids go to state school. She has to use the NHS." It was very much like that. Whereas Ben, I was doing a live one night, my daughter was in hospital, and I was reporting about how bad the NHS was, and he must have joined on my live. He messaged me and said, "Sarah, I don't know what's happening. Please, is there anything I can do?" I would never have got that from Nigel.
Wow.
So I was really touched by that.
No, absolutely. Um, let's jump on to something very different, and this is what you can and cannot say. This is someone who is being charged with terrorism offences, just like Tommy has been. This is Andy Noper's clip, and I know you met him when he came in, when he flew in. And Andy knows that controversial anti-Islam activist Korean Scott was detained on suspicion of terrorism. Well, it wasn't really suspicion of terrorism, but here is the 1 minute clip of him explaining what's happened.
They let you out?
Yeah, but look, terrorism, Schedule 7.
But what did you actually do for them to suspect that?
They said it's because of my social media posts.
They can take the Sharia law and shove it.
There's only one culture that pours acid on women's faces.
So yeah, for
Against mass migration and Islam?
exactly.
Leave the goats alone.
So I had to give them all my passwords for my phone, all my passwords for my social media, all my laptop. They've taken all my phones, laptop, everything, banking, everything. I was saying the truth that Prophet Muhammad slept with a 9-year-old and married a 6-year-old, which makes him a pedophile. So that's what I was saying. And now I'm getting investigated for terrorism. This is way worse than I could ever have thought. I thought I'd just be a normal criminal, like being done for hate speech, but I don't want to get done for being a terrorist. That's something different. So
I mean, the consequences are more severe.
yeah, well, if I go to jail for being a terrorist, then that's a lot worse than just hate speech.
If you go to jail for being a terrorist, that's a lot worse than hate speech. Exactly. But we are living in this situation, Sarah, and I think that the US viewers are maybe beginning to be aware of Islam in the US, but then what you cannot say. But to hit someone with a terrorism charge simply because they want to discuss a religious belief. What were your thoughts? And of course, you met him at the airport. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I did go to the airport, like you said, and the reason I went was because I just feel that this country we are currently living in clown world, and we are all spectators of that show, and we're watching it go ahead. But if we just sit back and watch and don't do anything, before we know it, we will be under total control. And we won't be allowed to say anything. And if you look at the amount of people that are arrested for hate speech, or just like myself, arrested for unfurling the flag, the world is going mad, and especially the UK right now. I think we're probably the worst. And so I went to show my support, because I think by showing your support, it's showing that you're standing up against the government. And at the end of the day, this is a 2-tier police state at the moment. And it is all incited by our government, because they could stop this. And for somebody to question a religion, the Prophet Muhammad, for questioning about that he had sex with a 9-year-old and married a 6-year-old, to question that, how can that be an act of terrorism? That's just totally outrageous. And that just shows how corrupt our country is. Because if you look at the people that say the guy who sexually assaulted the young girl in Epping, for example, he got found guilty. He got handed a 12-month sentence. Of that 12 months, he served 4 months. And then they accidentally released him when he was supposed to be deported. And then they gave him £500 to keep him quiet, which £500 in his country equates to about £20,000, because it equates to a decent low wage. So that would be around about £20,000 equivalent. So what, are we going to give all of these people that commit crimes, they've broken into our country, sexually assault a young girl, and then we pay them off? Our country needs a massive shake-up, and it is at the root core is the problems, which is our government, and the police, the judges, the mainstream media. They're all in cahoots. So we need to strip them apart. The BBC needs defunding. The government needs overturning. The police need to stop going to universities to become police officers. They actually should be ex-veterans. And our mainstream media, well, their days are numbered, because it's all down to citizen journalists now, as far as I'm concerned.
It really is.
Mm.
This is that's there at the airport. And I mean, I love because I've got different minds about, and I saw Jake Line going and holding huge signs and wanting to barbecue crown and bacon, and I see others that are more engaging in a different way. And I guess they're uh, how no one should be arrested for terrorism charges just because you want to debate a religion. You may say it's distasteful, you may say it's offensive, that those are other. Now, whether that's illegal or not, that's a whole. So there are so many aspects to this, whether you agree or not with someone's portrayal or how they put forward a point of view, surely they should be allowed to put it forward. That's my huge concern in this.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So, and if you look at the moment, anyone who preaches Islam or anything like that in, say, Speaker's Corner or anywhere, you've got guys at the moment that preach in up and down the country, but Brighton, for example. So you've got people that will go and preach about like preaching from the Quran, and it's acceptable. The moment anyone preaches from the Bible now in this country, they are told to move on. They are told that if they carry on speaking, they're to be arrested. I've seen multiple people now being arrested from preaching from the Bible. So you either say no preaching on the streets, or you say yes, you can all preach, and we have to respect that. But you can't just pick and choose. And it seems as if it's one narrative that is chosen above all in this country. And at the end of the day, this is a Christian country. I'm happy for other religions. I've got friends that are Sikhs. I've got friends that are Muslims, and I respect their culture, their beliefs, their religion, and I even go and celebrate their religious festivals with them. But what I don't accept is our police and our government imposing these rules against people just because they're preaching from the Bible. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, and when saying "I love bacon" is an arrestable offence, we are in trouble. But you mentioned about the hotel in Epping, the Bell Hotel, and here is a post that you had put up. Barriers go up outside the Bell Hotel from the 17th of November. Extra protection for migrants while local safety concerns continue. It does seem as though our government and the past government were more concerned about these people who come over illegally and making sure they are looked after and provided for than anyone who is a British citizen who has worked here and pay taxes. And there does seem to be we talk about two-tier policing. This is certainly two-tier government and two-tier citizenship, that these people seem to get more rights than we get as British citizens.
Yeah, they get a lot more rights than us. And at the end of the day, this is where the Home Office even said themselves when we took the Bell Hotel, so it had gone to court to have it shut down. It ruled in our favour, and then that got appealed. And then when it went to appeal, it was the Home Office said that the wants and needs of these so-called refugees, which we know they're not refugees, it was their wants and needs tipped those of the people of Epping. Now, you can't do that. You have to say, I'm happy for these hotels to be used as a detention centre, but when you're going to let these people roam freely, and it isn't just one isolated incident, there's been multiple incidents. The police are called multiple times. We have problems in our community. Young girls are being followed in their school uniforms. Obviously, the young girl got sexually assaulted. How many more things have to happen before our governments start to put those who deserve to be in this country above those who have broken into this country? And it is past and present governments, because it's not just Labour. Labour just seem to be doing an even worse job than Conservative.
Yep.
None of them care. All they really care is lining their own pockets. None of them care that we are protesting, because we protest peacefully. And at the end of the day, why would the people sitting in Westminster care about the people in Epping or anyone else across this country? We know that Crowborough are out protesting. There are multiple protests up and down this country. As long as they're kept away from them, as long as it doesn't affect their daily life, they don't care. This is why I've said multiple times, protesting works to a degree. You get to a point and then you've done what you can with protesting, because we are, as a nation, we are peaceful. What we have to do is, I don't agree in inciting violence, but we all need to stop paying our council tax. The moment we stop paying our council tax, that's when the government has a real problem on their hand, because all of a sudden it's money and they only care about money. They don't care about anything else. So I have stopped paying my council tax. I'm not saying that I am never going to pay it, but at the moment I'm saying I'm withholding it until I feel that myself and other people of this community and up and down this country are being made a priority. Now, I'm only just one person. We need probably about a third of the population in the UK to stop paying their council tax. I would be saying that's realistic. I think we could probably get a third, even if they all said on one just now, we're not paying it just this month. All of a sudden they'd go, whoa, actually these people they're realizing that we're here to serve their liberties, and actually they can overturn us and they can cause a massive problem in this country. It's as simple as that. So, I'm not telling anybody to stop paying their council tax, but I would encourage it. Definitely. It's a way forward, and it is a way of doing it very peacefully. Don't have to go and protest. You don't have to incite violence. You don't have to shout at people in the street. You simply have to say, I'm withholding my council tax until I feel that safety is restored within the UK.
And we'll end with a BBC story about people withholding and the impact it can have. So we'll end on that, which is I think a good news story. This is no, I think you had posted it, and fascinating story. I think it was from the Express, and then I know others also had covered it just out. And this watch, I will not play the video, but watch Raise the Colours activists go vigilante on French beaches. We've effed it up. And it says, in a daring twist, a group of British vigilantes have taken their mission across the channel, targeting hidden boat engines on French shores. And I think there's more footage of them being stopped by the police there, because the French police obviously are very happy for this to continue, and they get a hell of a lot of money from the British taxpayer for it to continue. But this is kind of a good news story. It's about people actually making it happen. When the authorities and the systems fail, well, you take it into your own hands. And these individuals, they should get knighted for their work. What were your thoughts when you saw this?
You know what? I've met both of those guys, and hats off to them for actually, because they're putting their necks on the line. They're putting themselves in some dangerous situations. They're going and confronting people. They're not being aggressive, but they're going out there and they're exposing the real truth. I don't know if you see one of the videos the other day, and he goes up to the guy and he calls him over to his car, and he said, "What's your process? How do you get from here to Calais? What do you do? Are you being brought over by anybody?" And they said, "No, there's no gangs. We're just going along." So he's proved that there aren't gangs. So when Keir Starmer says we plan to smash the gangs, firstly, Keir Starmer couldn't smash MASH, and secondly, Keir Starmer is the gang. It's him and his merry men are, like you say, giving France an incredible amount of money. Now, that money is the taxpayers' money. It's not Keir Starmer's money. The French do not like the English. The French do not want these asylum seekers in their country because they are a problem. They cause carnage and crime and all sorts everywhere they go. Even just a trail of destruction of litter and everything that they do. And I won't even go into some of the obscenities that we've seen online as well, because I don't think your viewers need to know that. But, I think that the French are quite happy for them to come to the UK. They're not going to stop the boats. They're not going to stop these men from coming to the UK. They're like, right, well, good luck. We've got rid of them, not our problem. But our government is paying them the money. Stop paying France the money. Put our navy into our waters, and stop all benefits going to people that come to this country illegally. We can stop this within a week. It's not that difficult. So them two guys going out there, and other guys as well, they're exposing the real truths, because people like myself and you, we know the truth. We know what's really going on. But what we're doing is we're preaching to the converted. So we need these videos. We need people to show the people who are on the fence, who are on the other side. They need to see what's really going on, because until people see it, seeing is believing. And then hopefully it will wake up the people that aren't already like myself and you, because it's very easy. When we was at the Together conference, every single person there is there because they all believe in what's going on. They know, they've seen it firsthand. They're awake. That's very easy to play to an audience that are awake. When you're trying to wake up the rest of the country, that's where it's difficult. So by them going out there, I really applaud them for what they're doing, and it's a really good thing to see. And they're putting themselves at risk. So I hope and pray for them as well, that they stay safe. But yeah, hats off to them, what they're doing.
Oh, exactly. And let's do another clip of someone who also is trying to change public opinion. This is young Bob, who's someone who's young guy who's appeared recently, and he's been putting these free speech tables out, kind of Turning Point style or Stephen Crowder style, and wanting to have conversations. It's about 3 minutes, but I'll just play the first minute, and it gives you an idea of the response he gets. This was outside the LSE, London School of Economics, in the middle of London. So this is in the capital of the UK, Londonistan, as it's known as, really. Here is a clip from this TPUSA.
So, lady,
they shouldn't be allowed.
you're on camera. That's not property, my friend. Pardon? Wrap up. I think we should stay here just to see what happens. Well, this is fun. Indeed, it's a safety. Well, I honestly think that if they're just going to do this, I think it's fine. Well, listen, I'm not going to fall into intimidation. If it is literally just a couple of ballied students, I'm not going to do anything physically. However, I can handle it. Pack up and go, and that's them. You're legitimizing this understanding that they can just do this. I think you're stepping on my property, so I would ask that you don't do that. But look, the low IQ chimps, the ones that are unfortunate.
We could watch that all. I wish I was like young Bob when I was back at young Bob's age. You look back with admiration, I think, for his courage. But yeah, he just simply wants to have a conversation. That is no longer allowed in the UK. If you are a common sense individual and have views that mass immigration is bad or Islamization is bad, etc., etc. So, I mean, yeah, kudos to Bob. What are your thoughts on that?
I really like Bob. I've met him so many times now. I think he might still be 17. If not, then he's 18, and that's his. 18.
He's a child.
No, and you know what? He's so well spoken. He's so knowledgeable. He stays calm. I mean, he's got himself into some really difficult situations, and only for speaking out. He's done exactly what Charlie Kirk done, speaking out. And he's not spreading misinformation. He's not inciting violence. He's not inciting hatred. But speaking out apparently incites violence and hatred and racial intimidation. And hats off to him. I think he's doing a great job. I do worry about him because obviously he puts himself in a situation where he could get attacked. But that's not his fault. That is the fault of other people with a certain viewpoint, because we all know we have our viewpoint and we have our views, and we all go to these protests or speak on a daily basis to different individuals, and we'll give our opinions. If someone from the opposite side has their opinion, I don't ever get violent or aggressive towards them or, belittle them in any way. I try to debate. But unfortunately, people on the left they always want to become very aggressive. They want to call you a racist, a fascist, a far-right thug, a Nazi. I've been called all of them things because the moment they start to lose their debate, they go, "You're a racist." I go, "Okay, I'm a racist." It's lost all sense of the meaning. You've overused the word racist. I put it back on them now. You are a far left, racist, fascist, Nazi, because the people calling me a Nazi, holding up their Palestinian flags, are the very same people that are calling for death for Jews in our streets. And we know that in the UK. They've openly driven round with tannoys calling for death for Jews. Now, this is a peaceful country, and supposed to be, and the Jews in this country haven't incited violence. There's about 300,000 Jews in the UK, and they are a peaceful bunch. They've never committed terrorism in this country. So why would any of us have a problem with people from the Jewish community? And let's remember, it's a religion, not a race. So these people that come from the left, they get very confused. But yeah, they get incredibly violent. And that's why I worry about young Bob, because they do become very annoyed, very frustrated. They're all suffering with a mental illness and you don't know what they're capable of.
Exactly. Let's jump on. This was a post that Tommy had put up, and it was from a Sky News. And basically the overall headline is the ringleader of a Romanian rape gang was offered £1,500 by the Home Office to be deported while he was in prison awaiting trial for 10 rapes. Here is a clip. We'll not play the whole clip, but here's part of the Sky News clip.
Called him a winking, smirking pimp, but this is the face of a grooming gang ringleader. And now a Sky News investigation uncovers evidence of him being offered money in exchange for being deported, months before he was convicted of 10 rapes. And he had his immigration status renewed mid-trial. In Dundee, Marian Companasiu led a Romanian grooming gang, raping, drugging and trafficking vulnerable local women in brothels like this. We can exclusively reveal that while detained at this prison awaiting trial in summer 2024, the Home Office gave him a voluntary return form offering £1,500 to leave the UK. That was later halted when officials realised his rape trial was still pending. And then fast forward a few months to winter of last year came another twist. Midway through the trial, while he was sitting in the dock here in Glasgow, his immigration status was automatically renewed under the EU settlement scheme. A few weeks after...
Right, I'll not annoy our viewers and listeners even more by playing the whole thing. I guess infuriate. One, this is up in Scotland, so we see these rape gangs all over the country, not just in certain towns in the Midlands, but it seems the government are bending over backwards to help, to assist. I mean, you pay people for rape. Is that the level we've come to reward? That's kind of how it seems. If you're here, then if you rape someone, you get paid money and you can go back home. It sounds like a job that we as the taxpayers are paying foreigners to do. I can't really get my head around this.
I cease to amaze me. Like, I cannot get my head around this at all, but we're seeing it on a daily basis. Every single day I hear something new and you're like, what is going on? Who is running this country? Like, how are they putting these people as a priority? If you come into this country and you commit a crime, go. That's it. If you commit a crime, there should be zero tolerance. It's incredibly insulting to then, like, say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna carry on your stay here." Yeah, no, this has got to stop. But again, you have these every single time. It was like, what was it? The guy wasn't allowed to be deported because his son didn't like the chicken nuggets in his country. There was another guy that couldn't be deported because, he was scared that he might get burnt in his country because the sun was so strong. Make it, it blows my mind. I have no words. I literally have no words. It actually blows my mind what is going on because
And things go on as normal. It's as though this is now just normal. Newspapers write an article, people nod, and then you move on to the next utterly stupid decision. It's as if we are just hitting ourselves as Brits. We want to try and destroy our country. And it's so difficult to grasp.
yeah, like I mean, I had someone come to me recently and go, "Oh, have you got any spare clothes that you'd like to donate?" I was like, "Oh yeah, for what?" And they was like, "For all of these poor people that are coming into this country." And I went, "What? The ones on the dinghies? The ones?" They went, "Yeah, they're fleeing war." I went, "What? France? They're fleeing war in France? I don't think so." And they're like, "Have a heart." No, no, I have got a heart. I've got a heart for the people in this country, and I want women and children and our elderly and our men to feel safe because I know I'm a pink lady and I stand up for safety of women and children in this country. However, I think sexual assaults on men have gone up something like 400%. It's affecting everybody. They are targeting everyone. We've had scenes the other week of they found in a field donkeys are being sexually assaulted. Like we're bringing people in who our veterans fought against to protect us from, and our government is inviting them in, and they're coming here. They don't land on our beaches and suddenly go, I've got the morals and good work ethic of someone who's been born and raised here. We have spent centuries evolving and developing as a nation. And I would say that predominantly we are good, upstanding citizens. We all have criminals in every culture, race, and religion. And in every country, there is always going to be criminals. You can't help that. But we do not need to be dealing with other people's problems. And the thing is, everyone who I speak to who is, say, like, I was speaking to a guy the other day. He come from Pakistan. He come 40 years ago. He said, I came to escape these people. He went, now they're all coming here. He went, I'd rather go back to Pakistan. The same with the guy that I spoke from Bangladesh. He said exactly the same. And they're mirroring one another. They're all saying this is exactly what we escaped. If you look at Iran in the 1970s, it was just like London. It was beautiful. It was, it's very forward thinking. It was men and women existed together. They went to university together. Women had miniskirts and big fancy blow dries. It was just like London in the 1970s. And if you look at what's happened by the left being in power, funded by terrorism, look at them now. Like the women are covered up. I think they're not even a burqa is not enough now. They have to cover one eye because no, you only need one eye to see through. So make that make sense as well. So how have their grandmothers was not oppressed, but now the same women from that family are now completely covered up? It baffles me, and it's what's happening here. It's exactly what's happening here. The left are in power. They support terrorist groups. Money is going from our country to terrorist groups to fund people like Hamas. I mean, Keir Starmer saying that Palestine and recognizing it as a state. He did not put that out to the British public. The British public do not want that. We do not agree with that. The people that agree with that are the people that are calling for death for Jews in the street, and they're the people that are furries. Let's not remember, all of the people that go on them protests identify as cats. Like, they've got green hair. They don't know how to wash. Anyone who suffers with not being able to know how to follow basic hygiene has a mental illness. So all of them people need to have their meds checked. It's got to stop. We need to make a change in this country.
And I think the cost of spaying a cat's about £100, so that may be an option for all those furries. But of course, Sarah, the wonderful news is this, and have mentioned that Shabina Mahmood is closing all asylum hotels. So it's actually all good news. I think we're just getting frustrated. Shabina Mahmood every day is now posting utter BS of what she is going to do. Yeah.
Shabina Mahmood. Oh my God, that's so exciting. I'm so happy you're closing all these hotels. the problem isn't the hotels. The problem is the people that are residing in the hotels. So where are they going? Are we putting them in social housing? Are we putting them in Airbnbs, HMOs? Because anything is a HMO now. So now they're not contained into one place within the community. They're now spread out and dissolved within the community, and then we don't know where they are. That's a massive problem. That's a bigger problem than them being in the hotels. What I don't understand is during lockdown, and I say this all the time, we built the Nightingale centres rapidly. Why aren't these places being built? They can be detained. They can be housed fully within these centres, not allowed to integrate into our communities, processed and deported. If there's a genuine claim for asylum, they would have followed the proper routes. They would have come over. They wouldn't drop their papers. They wouldn't destroy their documents. They would have come here properly. And to say that they are engineers and doctors, anyone who's an engineer and a doctor, I got told the other day, yeah, but it's because these people don't know how to fill out their forms. They're educated if they're doctors and engineers. They know how to fill out a form. They would also have money that would mean that they can hop on a plane and do things properly. Let's face it, the people that are coming in, they're not women and children. They're not engineers. They're not doctors. They're criminals. And I believe they have no place in our community. And I don't want them here.
I agree. And I think it's a good use of maybe the Isle of Man or maybe one of the Outer Hebrides Islands. I think that's where we put them, like the Aussies put them in Christmas Island was, or one of the islands, Easter Island.
Wow.
But two last stories. Let's jump on. We'll end off with a good news story, I promise you. First of all, this story from the London Evening Standard. Londoner jailed for ISIS terror plot suffered human rights breaches in prison. Crackdown judge rules. An Islamic extremist held in segregation prison was treated unlawfully because he was put in a cell for 22 hours. Of course, we have people not running around. He was in 19 years in 2021 after he bought an 18-inch sword, a knife, balaclavas, and body armor. Downloaded extremist propaganda and made preparations for a violent attack on London streets. So he's in solitary confinement. Of course, you got Tommy Robinson, who is in solitary confinement because he's a journalist. So I'm trying to get my head around this. That you've got, and I think the US have the same problem. They've got liberal judges who are running the country in part, and we seem to have the same. That a judge thinks, actually, this is a wonderful guy. You're affecting his human rights. Maybe his human rights is that he should run around and murder us all in a violent attack. Maybe that. But again, this wasn't even a standard. It wasn't, I don't think it was covered massively. And then we just move on.
Our human rights should be able to send them people to the gallows. That's basically what should happen. Anyone who commits or incites some sort of terrorism in our country, he doesn't care for the people of this country. And our judges, the problem with our judges is it's what's fashionable. They don't want to be seen to be doing what is actually right for the people in this country and putting safety as a priority. Because again, they are not affected. So because they're not affected, they're like, oh, just let the peasants deal with it all. It doesn't matter. We'll let him roam freely in their community. They can get cut and butchered. And, we've had plenty of young women recently sexually assaulted or murdered. We even had the guy walking his dog. He was brutally murdered. He was in broad daylight. These people they're the worst of the worst. They're committing the worst crimes. We don't have people really. How in your childhood and my childhood, you never grew up hearing about all these crimes. My children now, if they hear about someone getting stabbed, it's like, oh, well, that's what happens. It's normal. It's normality. So the judges are a problem. They're a massive problem. Like I said earlier, they're in cahoots with our everyone in our parliament. And Keir Starmer is saying, oh, no, you can't give one of these foreigners a long sentence, or you can't mistreat them. It's fashionable for us to be good to them. So let's carry on being good. Let's give them asylum here. Let's give them some money. Let's bring their whole family over. I can't wait for Advance to be in power. I really can't.
I know. I think there was a meme I once saw of a British citizen being stabbed by looked like an immigrant, probably a Muslim immigrant, and he was getting stabbed, and the British man was saying, "At least I'm not a racist," as he was bleeding to death, and that's the
Sums it up.
stupidity.
I mean, the thing for me is the day that Lee Rigby was murdered, on that day, that should have been enough right then for our government to say, close borders, navy in the shores. I know that they was a British born, the guys that attacked. However, you're bringing in people that are converting people. If you look at our prison system, in the prison system right now, especially in the male prisons, they are run by the Muslim Brotherhood. That's got to stop. Anyone who is inside for terrorism, they should be in solitary confinement. They should be in a separate prison. They shouldn't be able to convert people to their ideology. It's got to stop, because a lot of people are going into prisons now. They may have had problems. Say, like people that are born and bred in this country, they might be Christians, they might be Catholics, but they come maybe from a broken home. And they're looking for that family. They're looking for someone to accept them. If they can get corrupted by these people, that's a massive problem. We're having people now coming out of prison they've become extremists from within the prison. That is a massive problem, something our government should be looking at. There should be separate prisons for people that have come from abroad or people that have been detained for terrorism. They should be in one prison and they should be in solitary confinement. That would be a way to stop other people being indoctrinated.
That would be. I think the Evening Standard said that 10 years ago, they had a report on a number of prisons being jihadi breeding grounds. I think in the US, 80% of conversions in prisons are to Islam. So there is an issue. But let's finish off on the BBC. It's always good to see the BBC losing. And here they're losing big. The BBC loses £1.1 billion as millions of homes refuse to pay the license fee amid Biostorm, and this is just out just before we started filming this Friday midday. And it's now a record 1 in 8 households refuse to pay the license fee. Some 3.6 million households simply said they do not have a license because they do not wish to use the BBC service. And this is a change, isn't it, Sarah, that we've been told, you must do, but now people are saying, well, why should we? We don't want to pay this. It's not a tax that you have to pay. Therefore, we choose not to. And of course, as we've seen the scandals of them doctoring the Trump videos on Panorama Newsnight, it sounds like a really nice story to finish, doesn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, no, it's great. I personally think that the BBC should have been defunded a long time ago. Anybody who protected Jimmy Savile, they should have had their license removed from them immediately, because they covered up what was going on with Jimmy Savile. They knew, and that went high up. That wasn't just like people that was the runners or anything like this. This was deep rooted within the BBC. So I haven't paid my TV license for God knows, 20 years, maybe? I would encourage everybody to stop paying with immediate effect. They can't do anything. I get letters on a weekly basis saying there is enforcement officers in your area. You could be prosecuted. You could be looking up to £1,000 fine. You could be looking to imprisonment. Oh, please, you're not going to do anything. You haven't done anything in 20 years. You're definitely not going to do anything now. And they're just full of corruption. And when they doctored Trump's speech, I had a woman the other day go outside Parliament. She said, people like you spread misinformation. I said, where do you get your information from? She went, the BBC. I went, oh, right. Who's just been done for doctoring Trump's speech? She went, that's a lie. I was like, oh my God, more madness. They incited violence. They should be held accountable. And this is what I hate in this country. Nobody is held accountable. What they do is, same as the BBC, they'll resign. They'll get someone to resign who's nearly at retirement age anyway. They get paid off with a massive pension. They'll do a speech I still wholeheartedly believe in the BBC and they provide great news. No, you're a liar. You're sticking up for a corporation that is so corrupt. And then the same with the government. They commit crimes, they spread misinformation, they then get found out, and then they'll go, right, you drop down, we'll get someone else to take your role, you'll get another position, maybe as health minister, we'll slide you in, all is forgotten, no one's held accountable. The grooming gangs, multiple people need to be held accountable for that. Police officers, judges, council workers, social workers, local MPs, local councillors, because they was all complicit. They all knew what was going on. So I would love to see everyone held accountable. BBC need to be held accountable and the BBC need to be defunded. So everyone, stop paying your TV licence. You won't get in trouble. It's not a big deal. Just get rid of them.
Exactly. Let me just show there was one. I will finish. It was this meme we put up, which I I love. It's like give a, and then there was another one I saw, and there was a couple, and the woman said about her older husband, I thought he had Alzheimer's. He was saying things that just didn't make sense. And then I realized he was watching the BBC. But Sarah, it's really good to have you on. It was good to meet you the other day at Together, which did really bring together a lot of great people. At Advanced Sarah, make sure and follow what she is putting out. But thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Always lovely speaking to like-minded people. And hello to all your American viewers. And I will be in America soon.
Look out for Sarah.